Jovi. Mr. Jovi.
Jovi.
Hey, buddy.
What do
Look
you
at you. You a gamer? You a gamer nowadays?
Dude, you guys got sweet backgrounds, man. Holy crap.
We got to get you a flag.
No doubt. Yeah, I should have a flag up in the background. Wait, I got
the Barbarian Hour flag.
No, that's sweet. That is a sweet logo.
I may know a guy.
You do?
I may know a guy.
Zeb sporting the Barbarian Hour. Yeah, I want my gear, bro.
We know a guy.
You get gear when you get on one of these things?
We can make it happen.
Nice.
Welcome to the Barbarian Hour.
We got a guy. Was I muted? Could you guys hear me?
We can hear you now.
No, you were muted for sure.
Looking good, Shawn. Looking good, man.
Good to see you there, Jovi. King Jovi, the king of the flannel, apparently. Whatever else you're the king of.
Do you have some Crocs on? What do you have, Crocs?
Yeah, Crocs.
I'm barefoot right now. Are we live already or what?
No.
Hey, we're recording.
No. I mean,
we're not live. We're not ever live. We're recording.
Yeah, it's
but
never live. I mean, that would.
There we go. Some Avery. Good choice.
Yeah.
Good choice. What do you got? What do you have?
Get a Barbarian Hour sticker
right there.
Nice. More apparel, more swag.
What are you drinking there, Shawn? You were one of the first people that introduced me to craft beer. I remember you drinking Thirsty Dog, I believe. Old leg
Thirsty
humper,
Dog,
right?
Yeah, doggy style. You can't find that anymore. That's
not
awesome,
out by you. It's an Akron beer, so probably not out by you. But you're in no short supply of good beer out there.
No, we're not. I'm glad you. Back in the day, we were drinking that college. I used to call it. Yeah, you guys used to drink like that crappy college beer, Natty Light and stuff like that. I'm like, dude, you gotta move over to the other side. I don't know how I actually got you to start drinking good beer, but yeah.
I want you to think about this. I want you to wrap your brain around this, both of you.
I don't know if we can be able to do this.
We have a friend who's a multi-millionaire, who's a global superstar.
Who, us? All three of us?
We have a friend who is a global superstar with millions of fans globally on all the continents, probably Antarctica too. We have a friend who's a multi-gazillionaire who drinks natural light still.
You mean, is that my drill partner?
Your drill partner.
Your drill partner.
Your drill partner is a seltzer man, and your drill partner is a natural light drinker. That guy, you cannot get the West Cleveland out of that guy. You cannot get the West Park out of that guy. It is not leaving that man anytime soon. The Neminator is, he still drinks natural light.
No, Ray, I don't know if I want to believe this. You're just saying this for hype. But I can picture it.
No, he 100% drinks it. He advertises it. He wears they send him like all this garbage swag, like a happy belt, like a koozie. He's got a fanny pack. He has a natural light fanny pack.
I think Corey has one of those too. Corey, I think, has a Natty Light fanny pack.
Natty Light sent it to Nick.
Yeah, that's a little different. I think Corey got it free at Indy 500 or something.
Yeah, whereas they're like, hey, you're
sponsoring
an
us.
influencer, right?
Right.
So they sent it to him. How wild is that, though? That guy still
awesome.
Drinks natural light. I just don't understand it.
Is this when I get to say that I share 2.5 MAC titles?
Yeah, sure. Whatever you want, do it. Go nuts. Is that what you want?
Yeah. How did you end up drill partners with him? Let's start from the beginning.
Okay, so Dolph Ziggler. You got to frame the story in. So Nick Nemeth, aka Dolph Ziggler. Do you know he's got the fourth most amount of matches ever wrestled in like WWE in the modern era?
Wow.
I didn't know that, man.
That's
I feel like
insane,
a horrible drill partner because I don't know his stats.
No, well, you don't need to know his stats, but the point is, like, there was an infographic that was released, and it was like, I think Kane and like two other real big time guys, like all-time greats, Hall of
Undertaker,
famers.
Right?
I think it was Kane. Kane was one.
I don't follow it.
Undertaker, but he was he had the fourth amount of active matches in modern era, WWE modern era. I think it went across AEW, ECW, WCW, all the promotions, right? WWF, WWE, which WWF,
and that's on top of 5 years of college wrestling.
Yeah. So Shawn, how did you become Nick Nemeth's, aka Dolph Ziggler's drill partner in college? Go.
actually, I was told recently by Jimmy. Yeah, and he tells the story really good. He's like, we didn't know what to do with this guy, and he's talking about Nemeth. So we just saw that you guys paired up well, and we put you together. I'm not actually sure how it all happened. I remember being Brian Singleton's drill partner the first year, and yeah, Brian teaching me like every move I hit. He's like, "Oh, sweet man, nice move, nice move." And then Nick and I started being partners, and I guess it worked really well in the fact that he literally practiced his WWE in college, and I was trying, kind of serious about drilling. And I remember telling him, like, dude, stop messing around, man. I'm trying to become a champion. And he'd like,
Who was he?
back. I mean, I think he practiced his persona back then. We'd be drilling, and he'd be like,
His gimmick.
yeah, his gimmick. And I'm like, dude, what the hell are you doing, man? Like, it's some kind of character. I never got the concept until years later when he's like, oh, hey, bro, I'm trying out for the WWE. I'm like, sweet, sounds good. I can make it.
Hope you make it and wrestle the highest amount of matches in the history of it. I bet you if you looked at his winning percentage, it's got to be right around like 35%.
He loses mostly?
Well,
Really?
Right? They write it like that. Yeah, he's a heel.
I didn't know
He's
that
a bad
either.
guy.
I didn't know that either, Shawn.
Yeah, that
That's probably wrong. Some WWE dork will watch this and be like,
I
"Well,
can see
actually,
that.
he's won 42% of his." which I don't care, whatever.
Well,
All
he's
I
such a
know is
good
that guy's a
performer, man.
hustler. That guy's a hustler. That guy is 40 and he still works like he's 25.
he's jacked, dude.
And he takes care of himself. If you see any of he does all of his own meal prep. He doesn't have a chef. He doesn't have a personal assistant. He doesn't have any of that.
Dude, he was practicing his meal prep back when he lived with Jared. I remember going over your guys' house, and he had the Foreman grill, of course, and he ate more chicken
Foreman.
breast than like any dude I knew, man. He'd always been meticulous in his meals. But the cool thing about him, it's coming from an exercise scientist perspective. He was never like, I've known plenty of other people that, are so into their meal prep and it takes over their life, and they'll tell you about it. Like, I made this many chicken breasts today. He was never like that. It never like spilled out in the rest of his life where he's like trying to recruit people to be like, chicken breast every meal kind of people.
Right. That's a good point. Yeah,
Very much so like a libertarian, live and let live type of guy, man. Like, just leave me alone. Let me do my thing. Don't get in. He's not trying to get influenced by anybody he doesn't want in his life. And he's not like the super calculated psychopath. He's like, knows what he's going to do. He's a creature of habit. And guys, when he's done, he's up in August. His contract's up in August, and they could re-up him for a year or two or whatever they're going to do. Or, he could go. Have you seen his movie? Shawn, have you seen his movie?
Oh. I knew he had something in the works like that.
Called Countdown. You might have to bust a clip out. We might have to share the screen and watch it.
What do you mean? Like, there's actually, so he already
He has a Netflix movie. Are you joking? He has a major motion picture.
What's it called? Countdown?
Countdown or In Time or Countdown Dolph Ziggler. Just type that in. Share the screen. I wish you could see our faces when you watch it. Dude, I think he does his own stunts in the movie too. It was 6 weeks. Hey, 6 weeks he was in Vancouver for.
That's awesome.
He's the main star, and Kane is the co-star. While like Nick is the guy. He's the marquee middle guy. It is Dolph Ziggler. Dude, it's great. It's a horrible movie. So I remember I'm just verbally abusing him on text. I'm like, this is absolutely horrible. You should be ashamed of yourself. This is terrible, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like berating him, right? Because that's what we do to each other.
Yeah, that's what you do. I mean, I sing him props, dude. I mean, he
that's the ebb and the flow of how him and I work.
Right. Yeah, we understand your personalities.
Yeah.
But
so I'm just like, I'm busting his chops, and at the end of it, he's like, but I was good, right?
That sounds like him.
Here we go. I've never seen this either.
Oh, dude. I don't know if your sound's going to share.
6 partners in 2
I hit
years.
it.
What?
I get phone calls complaining about you, and you know what I do? I don't
Working?
call them back because I don't have an answer.
I can't hear it.
What question? Why the hell are you still here?
Dude, Lionsgate. It's legit.
Signals being redirected.
Can you guys hear it?
Yeah.
That's got WWE.
We'll have eyes on you the entire time.
In 6 hours and 42 minutes to find it.
Looks good.
We have a tactical team on standby if needed. Take him now.
Yeah, little gun action.
We'll have officers throughout the arena.
Eliminator.
Strapped to him. Can anyone identify this guy?
He just did it. Fucking kicked it in. Yeah.
We'll take him down.
I can't believe it.
Throw me your back. Hang on.
That's awesome.
That's
Dude, he's
awesome.
taking it to another level, dude.
See, I never even seen it. So it's bad, Zeb.
I
But
mean,
he- but
does
he's
a
good.
job. He does
But
a
he's
really good
good.
job in it, and you can tell what's crazy because the whole the gimmick is they're acting. He's acting the whole time.
Right.
But imagine this: he's doing his gimmick, and there are guys out there that they work with that they all work together. We all know it's a predetermined outcome and all that, and it's choreographed and everything. But things go wrong, and you have guys who are trying to hurt other guys.
Oh yeah, I could see that.
Oh, 100%. There's guys that are trying to
It's
hurt
highly
The
athletic.
ego, man. Ego gets in the way, right?
ego all the way. Yeah. And then, like we're layman's, like we can sit here and talk amateur wrestling all night. Right. And Jared and I, obviously Jared runs OHSAA, and Shawn, you're a state placer. Jared's a 4-time state champ. We were teammates together for 4 years. And then you were extremely abusive coach verbally for a year, but we could talk that for hours. Like when we're talking WWE, it shows our novice,
Right.
we don't know anything, right? But like we know the basics of it. It's a super disciplined, regimented thing that they have to do. Ton of travel, obviously. They pair him, I think, in triples. You can pair with a guy, depends what level you're at, right? You can either travel with someone, usually a travel partner. I'm guessing Nick, the way it is now, Nemeth is probably like he does his own travel because now it's all because of COVID, right? But before that, he would always have like a travel buddy, and they pair up. And
Yeah,
there's dudes trying to hurt dudes. That's the thing.
I got to see him finally. I felt much better about being his close friend. He got me tickets to a Denver thing, I think 2 years in a row. I got to go see him and have dinner with him afterwards. And
Kennedy was there. Kennedy, the former MTV VJ, and Shawn didn't know who she was.
she sat next to me.
You joke.
She was not impressed with Shawn's dumpster.
He was
dumpster
not,
mouth,
dude.
is my guess.
And then I think I continued to not impress her. We had drinks afterwards. I wasn't on my A game, but I was kind of on my A game when she sat down next to me. I'm like, sweet high heels. They were like studded high heels, and totally had no clue who she was. I love that about me, though. You could be as famous as hell, sit down next to me. I'm like, oh, hey, how you doing?
Have you ever watched him on her show?
No, I want to, though.
Yeah, it's pretty
I had
good.
to
He
look
does a
up
good
her
job.
and who she was after I met her. Like, oh, this chick's
When
pretty
you
good.
were a middle schooler, she was one of the original MTV VJs.
I looked that up, yeah, and saw that.
Isn't
Yeah,
that
good for her.
crazy?
Seemed like a solid woman, man.
Was she cool though? I don't know. I'm asking.
I think she was cool, but like I said, I don't think I had my best foot forward. She wasn't impressed by me. So
You acted like it was
She's-
2001 on the
she's-
porch of Willow Street, didn't you?
yeah, she was being cordial.
That's awesome.
I think she was gave me respect because of how much she respects Nick, I guess is a
There
better
you
way.
go. That's cool.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Enough about Nick, right?
Yeah,
That's-
Come on, stop talking about that West Park Jovi.
Nice.
so Shawn, right? Welcome to Barbarian Hour, right?
Thank you.
Yeah. Glad
it's
we've been
awesome to
talking
be
for
here,
a
man.
while. Yeah. Getting you on. And for those that don't know, Shawn, right? Zeb mentioned it, right? Former teammates at Kent State, right? You were state placer. We had your younger brother on, Mark, a couple months ago. Real good episode. So now, right out in
Well, before you start, I
yeah.
want to acknowledge, thanks for having me on here. And I just wanted to acknowledge like how awesome you two are and like what a big deal it is for you guys to be doing this and how this world right now needs sincere, real news, I guess you can call it. Your job's probably more important than you both realize. with the challenges our nation's facing, and just to get good conversations like this out there in the world, definitely beneficial to all those humans out there that may or may not be listening.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. No, it's always a good conversation. And I think Zeb and I have been wanting to have this conversation. It's been a while. But so you were our coach, right? Senior year, or my senior, right? Zeb,
Yeah, your senior year. No, it was
it was my 5th year because you did 4 with me. You came in with me.
That's right.
I was just telling the story about you to somebody. I forget who it was, maybe Kevin Roberts. I forget who it was, but I was like, yeah, there was 2 Wentz brothers. I'm like, one is older by 3 years, right? Is it 3 years, Shawn?
2, yeah.
2 years, 3 years, 2.5 years, whatever it is. 3 years in school, though.
Right.
You're a 94 grad, he's a 97 grad.
Right.
So I was just telling that, and he was a Marine, and I was my brother Ferd. I was telling my brother Ferd about you, and he just like wanted to know the background. I was like, yeah, he's a Marine, but they didn't understand. They didn't get that you did 4 years as a Marine, then you came back and were a Division I athlete.
Yeah,
which, dude, why did you do that? Why did you do that?
Oh, in short, like I missed wrestling as a Marine, and as an infantry Marine, I saw that the Marine Corps had a wrestling team, and I kind of had an inclination like I would do it, but as an infantry Marine, they never let you go try out for it. You really had to sneak away and go win a tournament or something to get on the all Marine team. So I missed it. Literally, I missed wrestling and always considered myself a grappler the whole time I was in the Marine Corps. It even helped out in plenty of situations as a Marine, from Marine bar fights to I won a ship tournament, beat a bunch of Navy guys and Marines right in front of a sergeant major that just grounded me to the ship because my butt was too fat in camis, and he dropped out of a run and he grounded me to the ship for a weekend when all the other Marines were drinking and partying in Italy. So then they had a wrestling tournament, and I just punished people with the firemen.
Did you?
As Romano would say, that's the only 5% of takedowns in NCAA is.
That was your move, though, right? That was your move, right?
Yeah. To let people underhook you and then clamp down and come the other way. It wasn't a full fireman's. I always sit to my butt and then get stuck by more advanced wrestlers. But
you got stepped over a lot.
Yeah. But really, I swear, as the universe or my God or my future self, however you want to look at it, as a veteran coming back to society, I was a little salty, and you guys could attest to that and tell stories about that or whatever. But a
little salty. Understatement.
It was a socialization process that I wish other veterans had the chance to go through. Being a little salty from being in the infantry, and at that time, no one was saying thank you for your service. It was really still post-Vietnam era. And I mentioned that with deep respect, for those Vietnam era guys. It was still post-Vietnam era where you really didn't celebrate being a veteran, unless you're maybe at the VFW or something like that. And, I say this with respect too, but God bless 9/11. It really propelled our nation forward. In people started, few years after that, people actually started wearing their veteran hats or their military gear. Most military people you wouldn't recognize after they got out of the military unless they actually told you or it was an uncle or something like that. So after that 9/11, people started saying, thank you for your service. And the VA itself literally upped their game tremendously to be able to handle those veterans coming back. But back to my point, I was struggling with socialization and just trying to be not even knowing what a normal civilian is. And literally the Kent State wrestling team and you guys as close brothers helped me socialize back, dude. And it was needed. Probably wouldn't have been the man I am today if I didn't go through that Kent State experience. And being young and physical at that time, it was just a perfect recipe. And I also have said, I don't think I would have graduated college if it wasn't for being on the Kent State wrestling team and the support that the Kent State athletics department, and maybe you guys don't, know the whole story, but there are plenty of times when I was in the athletic department offices, like, holy crap, being emotional and crying, like, I'm not going to graduate. And, going through 3 surgeries during that time, and having a challenge just in academics in general. They hooked me up with tutors. And I don't think I would have got that type of support unless I was an athlete. And the athletics department's vested interest is to keep their athletes eligible, but also to keep the, grade point averages high to be able to boast that and to recruit better. So, I couldn't have asked for a better scenario, man. I still look back on our days together, and I miss my 220 South Willow house and all you guys' places where you lived. And the times we had together. And someone was just mentioning this the other day. Like, you ever had a group of friends that, like, someone would say something to you or want to fight you, and then your other friend would just step in front of you? And I remember Zeb specifically, some dude, guess it was at Muggs, gotta mention Muggs. Somebody's girlfriend, like, jumps on me and like, oh, Shawn, I blah, 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 missed you, or whatever, college debauchery. And the bro gets all pissed, right? And, just immediately starts, like, confronting me. And I don't even remember getting angry, because next thing I know, Zeb's tall body steps out in front of me and just, like, puts the dude in his place, starts backing him down. Be like, yeah, this guy's going to do what he wants, bro. And if you got something to say about it, he'll be talking to me.
I don't remember that.
I do. I'll tell you offline, but it was a great part of my life where I just continued on in the debauchery, and, Zeb fought my battle for me. But
Zeb's a fight. Zeb's a lover, not a fighter. Come on.
It's debauchery.
He loved me. That's what it was. He loved me.
He loved you more.
Of course I did. Really? I mean, come on.
Loved you.
Who didn't love you?
Right on, man.
I mean, there was no that one. It wasn't even a bad situation. I think you just talked him down, Zeb, with your amazing articulation. And but that example there, like, to be able to have a band of brothers after just coming out of literally a band of brothers in the Marine Corps, being in such close units of an infantry battalion and infantry platoon, literally I needed that, and I didn't even know. And I also needed to be corrected in some manners, and I was held accountable by more than a few of you. I guess the one thing that sticks out is, like, at my house, I was upset because people left their gear out, and, like, garbage was left in the garbage can, and I just had enough. When I came home from school, I'm like, these damn people don't know respect. So I just started tossing all their gear out on the front lawn, threw the garbage in their beds, which I was accustomed to. And might have been one of the times little Mickey, or my brother, just pulled me aside and like, dude, you can't do this. This is unacceptable.
And what was your response? Darn right I can.
Right. And I'm like, dude, what are you talking about? Your gear is astray, and this garbage shouldn't be here, and I'll do it. And
I bought this house on the GI Bill.
I literally did.
It's my house.
I bought this on the Montgomery GI Bill. You did. You did. You bought the house on the Montgomery GI Bill.
Yeah, basically. I mean, that's what paid for college for me. I wasn't a scholarship athlete. I literally got to use the GI Bill to go to school and fund my way through school. Of course, mixed with a couple of jobs at the time, working on a farm, working at TC's as a bartender.
Oh yeah, I forgot you were the bartender there, man. Right?
Dude, TC's
Thursday nights.
Red
Dog, dollar Red Dog. No, that house.
Ice House and Red Dog. Which one was it? Or both?
Both. Yeah, but that house was amazing. I mean, even after you left, we ran a tight ship, I think, from you. I mean, Hollow lived there, and we had, like, meal night Monday through Thursday night. Everyone had their own meal night, and it was a clean house. I mean, we kept the house tidy. I think you kind of instilled that, and I never thanked you because you're kind of like a big brother to me. Whether it was I remember cutting weight to 125, and I wasn't a small 125 by any means. Right. And you laid out my meal. We talked about meal prep earlier. I was a young 19-year-old kid figuring out how to cut weight at the college level, and you laid it out. Here's what you're gonna do. You're gonna, the carb levels are this. You're gonna wake up on this day. I don't know if you remember that, but
no, I do now that you mention it. And those are my early days of being an exercise scientist. And that's another reason why I got to graduate college, is because I picked a major that I was super interested in. Just from my lifting past and doing a little bodybuilding in the Marine Corps. But yeah, I remember that. And yeah, I never realized that but that house, and like you said, you were only 19. I never realized like how young you guys were, and like me having some age. Yeah, and even getting up into my, late 20s. It was one of my first opportunities to mentor to younger men, and that became a habit in life after that. And CJ, I don't know if you remember him. I think he lived with us in the early years, but he reminded me of that when I was back home in November. He's like, yeah, dude, you took me in. I got kicked out of my house at 17 and you let me live with you. And I thought it'd be all cool and be partying and stuff. And all of a sudden you start laying down these rules. So yeah, that warms my heart, actually.
No, I never got to tell you thank you. And there was another instance too. I knew kind of I had the younger brothers possibly coming to Kent, and I was looking at getting a house also. I knew you had the house. I was looking at maybe I can buy a house and rent it out when I'm gone. And you kind of laid it out. Here's the facts, Jared. Here's what's good about it. Here's what's bad. And here I was, at that time probably 21, and I didn't know what owning a house was. And you kind of were that big brother. And I never told you thank you. So thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome, dude. Yeah, that means a lot. It means a lot to know that I've mentored to younger men, and yeah, I mean, we're straight up like super good friends, best friends even. And but yeah, the role was a little different back then, and it's cool, not having direct children that I've been able to influence some young men along the way, and yeah, have them close and near and dear to me. So yeah, you're welcome, bro. That was duly deserved.
Zeb, what do you remember from him coaching?
I remember the wall push-ups. I think he called me disgusting fat body. I think that was a couple times.
I'm sure more than
do you lack intestinal fortitude? That was another one. A lot of verbal abuse. I got to give it back to him in Colorado. We'll circle around and be giving it back to him on the East Inlet at Rocky Mountain National Park. We'll give that on the Lone Pine Hike Trail. I lied to him like a dog there too. But Shawn, just real quick, we're going to get into your talking about your nonprofit, Warrior Saber. And, you already alluded to becoming a Marine, 4 years Marine, active duty, and then coming in and being a college student for 5 years. And that, that transition, and that's essentially what Warrior Saber does. But compare what it's like being a member of a battalion compared to being a member of a Division I college wrestling team. What is that like? What's the ebb and the flow? What are the relationships like? Who do you still have relationships with from the Marines? Who do you still have relationships with from Kent State and your years wrestling there? What is that relationship like? The military relationship and the brotherhood there and the Division I NCAA wrestling brotherhood.
Yeah, that's a good topic and a good question. And there's so many similarities. And I think that's why it took for me and that I continued to thrive. I mean, just coming out of an infantry unit in the Marine Corps, you're so busy all the time, and you're busy with physical activity, and you're busy with physical challenges that are challenging. And the busy part, like always having something to do and accountability. So those are the similarities there. Like with wrestling, we had to be, at morning practice and then evening practice, and it really consumed a large part of our day. But we still got a lot of stuff done. We were still able to be college students and, owning a house at the same time. Like looking back on it, NCAA athletes, they handle a large workload, man. Hats off to all of us. And that's a point to focus on too. I've been starting over the last few years, like anytime I come across an NCAA athlete, I'm like, yeah, NCAA athlete. And to me, in my mind, I'm like, it's the same thing as like, oh, you're a veteran. Like I'm a veteran too. And there's that brotherhood there, sisterhood. But it's the same thing with NCAA athletes. And I don't think us as athletes have really keyed into that fact yet, besides the fact that, if you have a business and you realize that someone's an NCAA athlete, I think you're like, holy crap, I'm hiring this person. I know the amount of work that it took to be an athlete or student athlete, I should say. So that part and the similarities of just like being regimented. And then of course the similarities of the physical toughness. I mean, our room at Kent State, like you said, everybody's a multiple state placer or a multiple state champion. The room was legit. Like every practice was like going to battle. And I really enjoyed it. I liked the physical part of it. and I like, I just absolutely love wrestling and just the part of wrestling. And even though still to this day as a BJJ or jiu-jitsu competitor, I'm way better at scrambles than I am at like the thinking or the technique, like either of you two were. Yeah, and I don't know if it's like had someone recently say like it's adult cuddling, so maybe I needed physical touch every day. And in practice, it was typical wrestling practice scenario, but also we continue the physical touch out into our social lives. We're partying and someone would get out of hand and they tell little buddy Mark to choke that person out, and Mark would put someone to sleep just because they weren't acting right. So yeah, there's something to that, and I hope to bring that knowledge to the world about physical touch later when I finish my PhD. But just the physical touch and the camaraderie, and being able to joke around with people that you're so close to, and yeah, it was super similar. And you're with each other so much. I think I like that too. As a Marine, you're always with your battle buddy at a minimum, whether you go on leave or, when you're working out on missions or deployments, you're surrounded by other Marines, and, you get tired of it, of course, but you really it's really one of the better parts of being in the military is just how close the unit cohesion is. And I found that in NCAA wrestling with you guys. So yeah, it was, again, like it couldn't have happened better for me to bring me to the adult status. And then I think I forget the second part of your question, but yeah, what was it?
How does it compare? You're willing to die for your fellow Marine. Do you feel like your teammates were willing to die or lay in traffic for you?
And yeah, the answer to that would be yes. I mean, I never even felt like I had to ask any of you. Yeah, I mean, even like the extras that were associated with our team that had maybe wrestled 1 year and just kept hanging around us. And all the Northeast Ohio wrestlers that were our friends. Yeah, I mean, we were tight, man. I felt the same. That was super similar. Marine units definitely have that. That's more felt in mission or on deployment as opposed to their everyday life when they're back stateside. And that never really comes to surface in the Marine Corps until it has to. But that's inbred in you in boot camp. Never leave a man behind. You're always doing stuff, teamwork drills, teamwork challenges. In boot camp and then out in the fleet as well, in the infantry fleet. So yeah, it was never even like, it was almost like I transitioned to like a similar thing in my mind. It was still the same. I was with this group of guys, and then even like our sister teams, that was really awesome to me, because in the Marine Corps, like there was no females around anywhere. And just the camaraderie that I got to feel with the other NCAA athletes, like the gymnast and the volleyball players, and they come to all our parties and stuff like that. And it's like I felt like I had instant friends that were girls, and that was huge. I mean, that was part of the socialization too, something that probably America doesn't know about. But most infantry Marine units rarely ever see females, and I think it's a little more integrated nowadays. But on infantry bases, there weren't so many females, and thank goodness that's changing now. And maybe it's time for me to go off on my spiel about guys and girls wrestling, and both of you, you have your opinions on that. And,
you got to coach the original girls team, right? Is that what it happened?
Yeah, my life is so crazy like that. Yeah, thanks for bringing that
So you
up.
left Kent and headed out to the. Go ahead.
You were in the Springs. Yeah. You were in the Colorado Springs at the Olympic Training Center, right?
Yeah, that's what got me to Colorado. I won an internship as a strength and conditioning coach for the 2004 Olympic team. And it just so happened serendipitously that was the first female freestyle wrestling team. And I didn't even know, this is back in 2004. So like our girls hadn't even came on stage to wrestling or even in the military or CrossFit yet. And here I am put with these 20 elite female athletes. And I was amazed. I'm like, holy crap, here's a bunch of girls that can all do like 20 pull-ups, except for the heavyweight, of course. And I got to coach, and I think they took 3 medals out of that year. But that was the start of it. And then after I went away from the training center and went back out into, the real civilian world, there still wasn't much girls wrestling and CrossFit wasn't a thing yet at the time. So it's like I was blessed with like getting a foreshadowing of like what's to come with these girls stepping onto the center stage now, and definitely taking their spot as our equals in wrestling. And man, I'm just so pro girl wrestling. And I'd been saying this for such a long time, but I'm like, when the girls first started coming on the mat, there'd only be like one or two girls, but I would be pro girl and be like, what are you talking about? What's the problem here? I'm like, you humans better get used to when the damn aliens land and you're sitting in a foxhole with your sister. You better have trained her right. And you're not going to care if she was a female or a male. You're just going to care about returning fire to the aliens. It's a crazy little story, but like in my mind, it was totally true. And I'm like, I wish these aliens would land and draw us humans together. Or I might have used the Chinese as like when the Chinese land on our shores and they've been practicing Tai Chi at 0500 every morning, and you've been sitting on your fat butt, you're going to hope your sister is going to help you out and fight the darn Chinese invading. I'll still stand by that story.
Oh my God.
But yeah. Crazy that I've had a life where I've got to, be in some of the forefronts of the females coming into the athletic realm. And then of course, fast forward to owning a CrossFit gym, and the CrossFit women, of course, have taken it to a whole other level. And, the gender gap has, closed immensely.
You seen how CrossFit women are built?
They're jacked, dude. And they got abs.
Their abs are like, it's the most crazy. It's the craziest thing of their shoulders, everything about them. And then like, are they having a lot of like joint issues? Because how they do so many things is so intense.
I mean, all the humans.
So jerky.
Yeah. Well, that, a testament to CrossFit, it really brought Olympic weightlifting to the forefront of America. And now, one of the good things about CrossFit that we're going to have better Olympic lifting athletes than we ever did. We always got beat by the foreigners in Olympic lifting to a point. We had legit athletes, but that's a good thing. But of course, anything that's good, people take to another level, and there's injury associated with it. And really, I mean, I guess that's an old paradigm where we think our females can't handle the stress of that intense exercise, or being in an infantry unit. I want to say that the girls CrossFitters, as far as like regular population, not talking the elite athletes, but I think their bodies actually handle the stress of CrossFit better. And I don't know if it's physiological. I think it might be more the mental game. It's hard for men, like a 30-year-old men, to come into CrossFit, and because it takes a lot of skill. So there's a huge learning curve in it. And by the time the men learn not to like do their main deadlift thing, they've already injured themselves on either box jump or deadlift. But the hat's off to the girls. I swear girls maybe are a little more conservative in the beginning and build their skill up before they start like lifting the heavier weights. And this is all my opinion, of course.
A little more patience, maybe, right?
Maybe a little bit of patience. Yeah. And I don't know, like I haven't had too many girls in wrestling, just a handful of the teams I've coached over the last 5 years, but so I can't make a general statement as opposed to like how they're handling like wrestling and, all the rigors of, hitting the mat and getting beat up. But that'd be an interesting study to see, how they handle. I mean, wrestling, I hold wrestling higher than CrossFit, and my little quirk with CrossFit, I always wanted to take down CrossFit.
I like that. Thank you. I appreciate that. How long have you owned a CrossFit gym for, Shawn?
I own one for like 7.5, 8 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Longmont, right?
Yeah, CrossFit Longmont. It's still there today. It got purchased by one of my clients, Dr. Anjali Nandi. She'd been a long-term client of mine. Love CrossFit, love the community aspect of it, and just recognized how awesome it'd be to own a CrossFit gym. And so she took it over, which was good for me, and a success story. A lot of CrossFits, their owners don't get to sell their business per se for whatever reason, whether it be business or, they had other things that they wanted to move on to in life. But so I felt super awesome that I actually got to sell my CrossFit and make some money from it, and then continue on to other things in life. But those CrossFitters, especially the girls, I don't know why, but like I see a that was what was confusing for me at first. Like I started to mistake like these CrossFit girls. I'm like, dude, do you wrestle? Like, why are you so jacked? They're like, what are you talking about? I do CrossFit. I'm like, oh.
Oh, they're so like to watch the professionals compete. It is amazing how they're built. I'm like, oh my God. And there's not, and it's like, it's a different build than a gymnast build. It's
They're
a different
built
build
for
than
it.
it's,
I mean,
it's almost like a gymnastics build mixed with a powerlifting build. I think that's the best way I can kind of describe it off the top of my head.
that's why I'm
Little confusion of they look like wrestlers a little bit.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. They're
It's funny, the
amazing.
correlation with how jacked you are, the more I want to take you down, hit you with a low single. A little afraid to hit you with the firemen's, I might get tangled up and your diesel muscle.
Shawn, just real quick, you've got this Forrest Gump life. You've done it all. You're in the Marines. You're a Division I college wrestler. Worked at the Olympic Training Center. Owned a CrossFit gym. You've been there. You've done that. Now you're getting into the nonprofit realm, and you're trying to give back to veterans and let veterans see the value in integrating into civilian life. I think that's the best way that I could put what the Warrior Saber is. I think is that a good way to summarize what you're doing with Warrior Saber?
Yeah. We've been working on our tagline, but that's a good way to put it. Warrior Saber recognizes continued service and continued service in that the veteran got out of the military and that they're continuing to serve despite their challenges they either had in the military or the post time after the military, that they're continuing their professionalism and that they're seeking to either serve their community or to serve others, whether it be civilian or veteran. We think it's super important to recognize that, especially during these times when our nation needs good leadership. These veterans have already been trained in some of the best leadership scenarios that this nation has to offer. I feel like we should highlight that, and it not only perpetuates the behavior in them, but it also perpetuates the behavior in the rest of us, civilian and veteran alike. With the focus to the veterans, of course, to get them to start acting or to make the conscious decision that they could still have their challenges, but they can also continue in their professionalism and continue to kick ass despite what challenges you have. And this being my opinion, but being an exercise and human behavioral scientist, and also have gone through some hard times myself, I swear that a lot of our human behavior after these hard times is a choice. And like, I really want to be harsh about it. I understand PTSD as much as I can understand it. I understand traumatic brain injury, and I understand that some of it's mechanical. But I also understand our power for choice. And if you got a heartbeat, and if you could have a reflective attitude, I think you could take pretty much any trauma that this world has to throw at you and work on it and start to step by step be a better human and pull yourself out of the dark place that you were. So we're highlighting positive veteran behavior so that other people take notice and hopefully do the same.
Who else is behind it when you say we?
I try to be a good business person, and I think I learned that from owning the CrossFit gym when it was just me and my business partner. When you say we, it's just a good way to sound like a bigger organization. But actually, the Warrior Saber, we consist of a board of 5 board members who've been with me from the start. And I like to always say that you never, it might have been my original idea, but you never create something totally on your own. You always need a team. And that's perhaps what the Marine Corps and NCAA wrestling taught me. So I quickly assembled a team. One of my younger brothers, Ronald C. Guy, is our vice president, and another Marine that I served with in my infantry battalion as a mortarman. He's our treasurer. And then another Marine recon special forces guy that I met that I always say is the best self-defense instructor I've ever met. He's our secretary. And actually, one of my platoon sergeants, his name is Dr. Chris Pilkington, just joined our board. And a sheriff friend of mine from Montrose, Colorado, from living there, he was a Marine for 20 years. He's also on the board. So I actually
Nice.
stacked the board with like all Marines right now, but my brother was a civilian or is a civilian and worked for the federal government as a fireman. And of course, we're looking for new board members to hop on and help us with the cause. So when I say we, I guess I'm
Nice.
talking about our board of
Right.
directors.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So you actually have then a ceremony, right? With a sword in the. Phil, what's the process with the sword? And
Yeah, that's the coolest part about it. And I think, that made it cool for me right away when I was like thinking of the idea 5 years ago when I owned the CrossFit. One of the reasons why I joined the Marine, I bid on the marketing campaign. I would see the commercials and see the sword and like, oh, damn, I want a sword. And heck, in the Marine Corps, when you're a corporal and a sergeant, the Marine Corps is supposedly the only non-commissioned officers that raid a sword. A little bit of history, as Zeb likes. So I was just, I don't know, the sword represented leadership to me. So I kind of put that together with the civilian scenario, like, why not award these veterans who are doing well a sword? And then, of course, we actually mimic a military award ceremony where people, civilians and veterans alike, are in a formation. We call the veteran to the front and we have a sword bearer holding the sword. And then I stand up there and I read the award certificate loud and proud like a Marine should. And it's super similar to what we did in the military. And I think that part's the educational part that gives the civilians a bridge of communication and actually what happened while we were in the military. And then to give someone a sword, they're like, holy crap, this is awesome. And I never got a sword while I was in, because it's not like they don't issue you swords, which, I was butthurt about. One of my funny tangents is like, yeah, some jack off in Congress decided to pass a congressional act and outlaw giving swords to every infantry Marine. So here I am, like, I never got my sword, so I'm gonna run around the United States like Johnny freaking Appleseed and hand swords out to veterans.
So when you give that sword to them, obviously it's something that should be a huge point of pride to them. And it shows them that all of their good service to the United States of America, exemplary service as a service member, because it's all branches. What you're showing is, hey, you've been a good soldier. I know you like to say a good Marine, but you've been a good soldier. You've been a good airman. You've been a good infantryman, whatever it may be, good, whatever it may be, right? Airman, midshipman, sailor, whatever it is, right? And the other thing is you're doing your job in civilian life, right? Like they've become like almost like a Renaissance man or woman, right? They're doing something and giving back to their community and doing all the right things. So they should be recognized for that, because as you said, it was really hard for you to assimilate back to being a civilian from being a Marine Corps nail eater, what's the nickname they give you guys? Empty brain. What is it?
Warrior from the sea, devil dog, jarhead.
Jarhead, that's the one. Jarhead, that's the one. But like you're eating rocks, you're spitting nails, and now all of a sudden you're on a college campus trying to integrate with regular college kids, as you know, from 20 plus years ago. They were pretty soft then. They're really soft now. And for you to make that jump as a civilian, and how those people are making a jump as a civilian, because you've had people that are law enforcement, you've had teachers, you've had people who are administrators at schools, you've had all different types of people from all different walks of life who they're doing a spectrum of careers, right?
Right.
What's the biggest thing you want them to get out of it?
I think that's a multifaceted answer, and it's maybe a little different for each one. The main thing would be, I like them to be recognized. And again, we're out of that post-Vietnam social era of not rewarding our veterans. And I just actually, so we'll stop and talk on that for a second, but I just actually got to award a Vietnam era veteran, and we've awarded 2 Vietnam era veterans. And I get this special like feeling of pride and a feeling of like righting what was wronged. It wasn't right what was done to them when they rotated back to the States. Whatever your political view is at the time, now or then, it's like they weren't, as we all know, like an infantryman or any serviceman is at the lowest point of chain of command. They're just doing what they told and, serving their country. So anyway, I get highly motivated. I'm like, yeah, I just righted one of the wrongs of this world. And that, that kind of feels good to actually like make some social change in that regard. So to the Vietnam era veterans, like we say, we just, we switched to doing surprise ceremonies, and I got a tear out of like a man that's so stoic. And just, I could see the emotional response, and he was like holding it back. But he had spent his years after the military doing things like doing outstanding in business. And then fast forward to his later years, he, is a director of a nonprofit that gets together and has a luncheon for Marines and sailors of World War II, the Korean War, and the Vietnam War. So he's like the leader of this and gets these guys together and gave them a space to like talk like veterans, and to, literally take their hat off and feel at ease because they're around other veterans who went through the same experience. So to award someone like him, who's actually leading men and women in the veteran or civilian theater of operations, that's huge. So huge that like, after I award these veterans, like I literally feel like, and that I didn't win very many college wrestling matches, but I won some high school matches. After I do an award ceremony, like I literally feel the same feelings like after winning a match, like when you're in the shower, showering up, and you're like, your psyche lets down a little bit, and you're like, oh man, all that anxiety is over, but I did really good. And you actually feel some like
gratification,
wow,
right?
What's that?
Gratification, right?
Guess that's the word. Yeah. Gratification. Yeah. Job well done. And I think for some of us, that's challenging to like give yourself self-gratification, but it's like a no-brainer at that point. Like after you've won a match and your hand gets raised, or after I hand a sword off, I'm like, holy crap, I just did this, mission accomplished. Let's move on to the next one. But wow, this feels really good at the time. So yeah, back to your point, Zeb, it's to award those veterans. And then actually like I pull the veteran aside when I can after doing this. And I don't think we have to spend too much time on the conversation, but I like whisper to him and be like, this is definitely to recognize your contribution to the civilian theater of operations and your service to us. But this is also more so to be an example to those veterans who are coming out and who are struggling. I want them to know that, to remember the good lessons that they were taught in leadership, and the lessons that they were taught in tenacity and grit, and to, accomplish a mission, no matter what pitfalls come up, or no matter, if your buddy dies beside you, or, or no matter what trauma happens to you, like the mission still stands, and it's still your duty to continue. I want these veterans that are doing well to be shining examples to the other veterans that it's possible to go through trauma and to have hard times and to still produce. Because in short, and you can look at the political arena today or the state of our nation, like we need help. We need good leaders. We need NCAA athletes to step up. We need veterans to step up and take their leadership positions. And I want more of those humans around. So I'm here to perpetuate the behavior. And that's like an underlying reason, everybody likes to focus on our main mission, and that's to award veterans for their continued service and excellence after post-service. But there's a little exercise and human behavioral science behind Warrior Saber in general.
So one story I got to hear, we touched on earlier, and you spoke of exercise, right? And the pain and hell you put us through as a coach. I got to hear the one that Zeb put you through.
Good. This is a good story too. Yeah. I get to talk about
Zeb talked a big game when Mark was on. So I want to hear it from the source.
Yeah. My mental toughness has definitely gone down a peg. And I was put into a disadvantage, Zeb's got the cardio capacity of I don't even know what to compare it to, like a Bigfoot or something. Like your VO2 max is like ridiculous, and you got these long legs, and you literally hiked my butt into the dirt on this Colorado mountain trail, which I should be accustomed to after living at elevation and like being out on the trail quite a bit.
But you're coming off a heart attack, right? Or heart surgery?
Yeah, and I hate to, actually, I love to identify as it, just like most of us humans, we got an injury or something, we like to identify with it.
You had open heart surgery. How far out of open heart surgery were you when I took you up there? Because you were complaining about it and I just didn't care.
Like my heart.
Yeah, whatever. I haven't done this much. And I was like, I was so verbally abusive
Why?
on that trail. Was not
That
nice.
how many? When was that? 2 years ago, when you came out?
2 years ago, summer of 2019, June 29. Yeah, June 2019. Remember, I drove through a snowstorm southeast of Denver, right? Southeast of Denver. I was out in the plains, and I drove through 6 inches of snow. This is on my way to his house. And then what is the pass? Berthold Pass?
Berthoud Pass, I think. Yeah.
Yeah,
'Cause it's
Berthold
going up-
Pass. I got hit again at Berthold Pass in a Whiteout going to the
Right.
pass. And this is Jared,
That's
this is
legit, man.
June 22nd. And then we got to his place. See, he was in between Granby and Shadow Lake and Grand Lake, right? You're in between,
Right.
those, but you're technically, what was your address at that house?
Yeah, actually, we had a Grand Lake address, and
He had a Grand
what
Lake address, but he was a little closer to Granby, maybe.
Lake Granby, yeah, and
Yeah,
Granby,
Lake,
the
Lake
city,
Granby
yeah.
and Granby, where the dude did the Killdozer.
Killdozer,
Where
yeah.
the Killdozer guy did that. Yeah, we were there. We were right next to that. And then, so we went, and what's crazy about it is he lived at 9,000 feet above sea level. His
Yeah, that's
cabin was at
legit
about
living up there, man.
9,500 feet above sea level. And then we hit the East Inlet. And then
Yeah, and I
from
think
the
actually
inlet,
the
I
East
lied to him,
Inlet's-
but I lied
did
to him
lie.
like a dog. I lied to him like a just piece of garbage human. I lied. Or
You make a
wouldn't
good
have done
hike
it.
leader.
Was I a good hike leader?
Yeah, that's a good hike leader. I mean, like when people take people on hikes like that, like, yeah, I mean, you always got the dude like, how much longer is it? Or like, yeah, we were literally, that actually starts at 9,000 feet. Where I live was like 8,400.
Was it 8,400?
Yeah, but like the East Inlet Trail goes up, I think, maybe 500 feet. It doesn't even really have that hard
No,
elevation gain.
No.
That's how I was like, man,
It
I'm
went
really
way
hurt.
more than that.
did?
We
It
went
had
up to
like
like
1,000 feet?
11,000 feet or 11,500.
Oh, maybe that's why it was so hard, man. I was sucking, man.
Yeah, we went up 2,500.
Well, it had distance too, dude. That was
Well,
would you say
it's a
that-
14-mile round
Oh,
trip
my-
up the East Inlet. And we were supposed to go to Lone Pine Lake, and we kept going. And I got him there, and he was so mad, dude.
I literally had flashbacks from the Marine Corps. Every time I hike, I get a nice, pleasant flashback of the Corps. But a little quick Marine Corps story. Like my little legs, like were kicking to keep up with the Marines. Marines are all about hiking and shit. And literally, like in boot camp, in the School of Infantry, in the fleet, like it was known that Wentz like hopped off to the side of the platoon, and they hid me like off to the side from the road so the commanders couldn't see me. And my ass would like run to keep up with the formation and then fall back. Run to keep up and fall back. So like I want to say like I got a short little gait, as you call it in the exercise community. But hiking has like always been my nemesis, especially if I have a pack on. And I think I carried a day pack on that hike. But yeah, I was obviously undertrained, and yeah, that I remember bitching, and like as soon as my blood sugar drops and I don't got chow, I'm like, oh my gosh, how long does this take? You're like, oh, just one more mile. Oh
I
man,
lied so bad.
you
One
did.
more
And
mile,
you, like,
one more mile,
videotaped it
3 more
too,
miles
man.
to go, dude.
Oh, you got videos?
The crazy thing is, a ton of video. You know, I got a ton of video of him.
I
just being-
never seen that one.
I'm like
I
crying.
got
and
a ton of it.
whining.
He took a defense soap wipe and wiped down. He took his shirt off at the top and wiped down complete those. It was the one that he was the experimental one. It was like a button you'd push, and then it would like.
Oh yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, I remember that. He did like the experiment, and guy never ended up going with it because it was like it was like a quarter size of a quarter or 50-cent piece, and too much waste, and another
Mhm.
piece.
Dude, I
of
felt pretty
plastic, whatever.
jacked though as I was wiping down with it, like at the. Man, I wish
You were
that would
still
have.
pretty jacked. Like I saw that sweet Jovi mom tattoo or whatever it is on your arm. And then, but the other crazy thing about it is we gained a ton of elevation. We gained 2,000 plus feet of elevation.
Yeah, that'll
About
suck your wind.
2,700, I think we gained. And what was wild is I did that. I did the incline. Like 2 days before
Yeah,
by
Colorado
myself.
Springs.
And Kilgore and I were hanging out with Linlin late night. We were hanging out with Linlin late night, drinking some craft beers. And afterwards, Kilgore's like, "Hey, let's hit this Taco John's or whatever." And we hit Taco John's on the way home after drinking craft beers with Coach Linlin. And Coach Linlin gave me some trekking poles. Do you remember that? Matt Linlin. hooked
Oh
me up with
yeah,
some
that's
trekking poles.
right.
He hooked me- And trekkers for someone like me, takes a lot of impact off obviously the ankles, knees, and hips.
Trekking poles
Low
are a
back.
necessity.
Trekking
what are
poles
those?
are
I don't know anything.
awesome.
It's just the poles you kind of.
Yeah, it's like a fiberglass pole
Okay.
that
Like a skiing
extends and
pole.
telescopes. Yeah, they're awesome, man. Like they're really good for someone like me, and they're a must-have. But my trekking poles got taken by TSA, and I like lost my mind. I forgot. I like broke. I broke.
Like,
the
sir, you
TSA.
can't take these on the airplane.
Oh yeah, I like lost my mind because then they were like, "Oh, you can check it in your bag," and then they were gonna charge me double to check my bag and something. I was like, "Get it off, put it back on, check the things." So I just like ended up leaving my trekking poles, and then Linlin hooked me up, came through in a pinch and got me trekking poles. But Shawn he doubted himself, and I through verbal abuse, I really
Coach Zeb.
I got him to the top. I was really impressed with you though, Shawn.
Oh, thanks, man. Well, the funny thing about Colorado hikes, like you get to the top and then like, holy crap, you got to go all the way back. That's always the hardest part for me. Is like, even though it's downhill, it's a little faster, actually a lot faster, but yeah, you're still bonked out a little bit. You've had a little rest, but there's still, a whole journey in front of you.
And remember that snow was just thawing. Remember, we just come across the snow, and then we came across the bull moose.
Yep, that's
Like
a Rocky
an
Mountain National
adolescent
Park.
bull moose
They're
that was snorting at us. Remember that? It was crazy. There was an adolescent bull moose snorting at us. An adolescent bull moose is like a teenage boy, like a maniac, right? Like,
yeah, that place where I lived, that was such a blessing. I mean, it's literally the
wild.
southern gate to the Rocky Mountain National Park. There's so much wildlife there. We get moose and deer and elk in our yard. And yeah, it's just, there's so much animals there. And really you realize as a hunter, when you hunt in Colorado, like you think there's all sorts of animals everywhere, but there's not as much as there's the Rocky Mountain National Park. And I guess that makes sense why they made it a national park, because there's so many animals around. But yeah, to be able to hike that's a treat for anybody, even Colorado.
Awesome. It was awesome. And then it was snowed through. The pass was snowed through. You couldn't get in there from
oh yeah,
John, what is the east side? What's the bottom?
The east entrance is Estes Park, another cool place.
Estes Park. I couldn't even get to Estes Park. I'd have had to go back through what's that pass I came over and got whited out in?
Berthoud, I think, but
Berthold Pass. I'd have had to go back to Berthold Pass, back to Morrison, Colorado, back north of Denver, then up to Estes Park, right?
Right.
It was dude, it was June 24th.
Jeez.
Yeah, that's crazy part of Colorado. Yeah, snow in June. Yeah, it started to get to me mentally about living up at 8,400 feet. Yeah, the winter would last into June, and then all of a sudden in like beginning of September, here comes the snow again, and just I truly started to understand like what real cabin fever was. And the people up there are funny. I bought an A-frame house, like super steep, 12 pitch, and I'd be, complaining about the winter and the snow, and they're like, "Dude, you didn't realize like where you were moving to? Like you bought a house that's shaped like this. You didn't think that was there for a reason?" And I'm like, "No, I had no concept of all the snow." I mean, it got
why?
Yeah,
Why?
It reminded me kind of Ohio. Like when I grew up, we used to get big snowstorms, and maybe got bigger ones up by the lake. But yeah, it was cool and novel for first 2 seasons, and then yeah, it just got a little tough. The cool parts are chopping wood, being next to the animals, getting to hike, walking a couple blocks to the lake. But yeah, I was ready to come down from there when I sold the cabin. So
You're up there though. That's as high as elevation as you really live in Colorado.
yeah, I mean I think Breckenridge is another 8,000 foot city. Telluride's up there, maybe a little higher. Vail, similar. Yeah, it's like
You were in Montrose. Where were you at?
Montrose. That's like
Where
on the
were you
western
at?
slope.
When
He
you're talking
was
about
in Montrose, but that's Western Slope.
Yeah, that's Western Colorado. This was Grand Lake, Colorado, or Granby, Colorado. Yeah, it's like, when you're in Denver, you see the mountains, but you're not really in the mountains until you pass over literally the Continental Divide.
You got to go into Morrison, and in Morrison, where Red Rocks is, the last community, and then you go up into the mountains, and then you're into Golden, right, Shawn? Right. Is that right? That's right, isn't it? Yeah,
Golden,
that's
Colorado.
right.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, 'cause
listen, the
Denver,
canyon you got to
Golden.
go through to get into Golden, because that's where the Colorado School of the Mines is in Golden.
Right.
And that is a crazy stretch of I-70, dude.
No, it is. Yeah, it's like a mountain
It's
racetrack.
a wild stretch,
Yeah.
man. It's awesome. And that's just what's crazy about Colorado, what a lot of people don't understand is it's very arid. It's high desert.
No,
A
high
lot of
country
parts
desert.
of Colorado are. And people don't understand that, especially when you get into Western Colorado, it becomes very Utah-ish, if you will, right, Shawn?
Right.
And that's just my experiences. Because then if you go into Eastern Colorado, it looks just like Kansas.
Right.
Rolling prairie hills.
As an Ohioan, I still miss like the lush greenness of Ohio. You know, and albeit that Colorado has, you know, so much sun, but yeah, it's really kind of arid. When you're up in the mountains, you know, you get more precipitation as far as snow and stuff like that. But yeah, most of the state's kind of dry and arid.
It's really dry and arid. And it was crazy because I remember, Jared, I don't know if you remember the photographer Brooke Zumas. She's a doctor now. She's one of the big advocates to sanction girls wrestling in PA.
Okay.
But she lived in Colorado Springs, and I think she worked for USA Wrestling, but she was awesome to deal with. I love Brooke Zumas. But she would always come around. She'd be like, oh, my God, I love how lush and green it is here. And I was like, what are you talking? And I'd been out there a couple of times. You know what I mean? I was like, what is she talking about? Why does she keep talking about this? But Colorado is pretty dry and arid. Even Eastern Colorado is pretty dry and arid. It's not as dry and arid, obviously, as Central and Western Colorado, but even to that degree, because they got to do a lot of irrigation and things like that, because it's, you know, it's the Great Plains. So, but Colorado is just such a diverse state in that sense. It's just, man, when you get up to elevation, it is no joke, is it, Shawn?
Yeah, no joke, dude.
I've only got to visit Denver. Remember, I was like 4 years ago we visited. I forget where we got
craft
beers
beer
at.
festival, right?
Yeah, but I forget where we
huge
met
there,
at.
Yeah, that was cool to see. Weren't you out with a brother?
Yeah, my brother and cousins. Yeah. So, but
Your brother and cousin. Yeah, that was super cool to see you there.
Yeah. So what? Do you got to jump off here, Shawn, or what time?
Yeah. Are you got more time for us or not?
No, I do. I got a little more time for you. I this week with this new job that I just started, they got me starting at 05:30, so it's like a 4:15 wake up. I've done that the last 2 days.
I wake up at 5, and I got 2 kids that wake me up whenever they want to.
Yeah, I've been getting a little
Let's
soft.
go.
I like a 06 wake up, but yeah, just trying to stay fresh for the job. And
Talk about the new job, Shawn. What's going on right now? What are you doing? What's your new job? You said you just got a new position out there in Colorado. What are you doing?
yeah, actually, I just started working for the U.S. Space Force, and it's funny how it's my life's coming full circle as far as I'm getting back into my career again after taking a little break after selling the CrossFit gym. Took a little break and built houses for a few years up in the mountains. I just got hired by the U.S. Space Force to work at their base gym and to be a trainer and a coach for the Space Force base in general. And that's on Buckley Air Force Garrison, which is now turning into the Space Force headquarters. And it's a super cool base to be on. Like, it's serendipitous that I get to be on this base and interact with all these military personnel, but it's a cool base to be on because it's a joint task force base. So I literally met in this was my 5th or 6th day working there. And I've already met Marines, Coast Guard.
New. You're like brand new.
Brand new, right? Yeah. Day number 6. I've met Marines, Coast Guard, Navy, Army guys, actual Space Force, who I just learned are called Guardians. Like, you call a Marine, and you call like an Air Force person an airman, and I call Navy people sailors. And I was stuck for a couple of days, like, what the heck do I call these people? I'm like, space human? They're like, dude, you call them Guardians. And I'm like, oh, Guardians. Oh, like Guardians of the Galaxy.
Listen,
that makes sense.
I'm not going to lie to you. I got to put this out there. I thought you were joking with me.
I know.
I thought
Everybody does.
Space Force. I thought Space Force was like some Donald Trump gimmick. It literally was a thing that he founded in his presidency. It's a Donald Trump initiative, and it's added another branch. Yes.
Literally added another branch to the military, man.
Look, I'm looking at the facts of it right now. It was founded in December 2019. I thought it was when you said it to me, I was like, he's kidding, right? Is he working on a sitcom?
No. Yeah, that's the response I've been getting. They're like, dude, really, that exists? I'm like, yeah, it's legit. And they're it doesn't only exist, like they're a year into their like military culture. I mean, I want to say like generally they took people from other branches that were already serving, and yeah, I mean, I think they took some of the cream of the crop. I mean, one guy that comes to mind,
2,500 one Guardians, by the way.
right, which is actually 2,500. So that's super small, right? It's literally the smallest.
Tiny. It's like minute.
Yeah.
Well,
So
we're talking. If we're talking service members, at one point we were over 2 million active and reservists, right?
right.
'Cause
Another
we
reason
had
I
the
know it's
largest
super
military
small,
on the planet.
right? And the Marine Corps is always like 200,000 or something like that, or 250. So yeah, they're tiny, and like literally, I'm meeting the majority of the Space Force, and like I feel like I'm getting it on the ground level, and you know, super good things will come from this. And just the people that I'm meeting, I met a Guardian, and he's an officer in 05, and you know, he quickly told me about this book that he's writing, and it's like a political book, which is kind of cool because people in the military don't normally get to do that stuff. But I think he's probably got some liberty being in this new branch. But yeah, he slipped in there. He's like, oh yeah, I was a single seat pilot. And in military lingo, that's like, you know, the Top Gun dudes that like, you know, sit in the fighter pilots. You know, there's a lot of pilots, of course, but there's, you know, those single seat pilots are, I always call them one percenters. They're always in shape. They're always super intelligent. So I want to say the Space Force probably, you know, recruited some high level intelligent people. And I've been asking a little bit about it. And you know, I think it's more intel than anything else right now, but you know, loose lips sink ships. So, you know, no one's told me the full story of the Space Force yet.
It was a Donald Trump thing.
Yeah.
I'm not making that up. It is 100% a Donald Trump thing. So it might not be around very long with the new administration because they're kind of defunding a lot of the stuff. But I haven't read the bill or how they rolled it out or anything, because some things have funding through, you know, if you look, example, the Patriot Act, right? The Patriot Act sunsets every 10 years, but they renew it, right? Because so the Patriot Act was like 6 weeks after 9/11. So it'd have been like October 2001, but it sunsets every 10 years. So it's like, there's all these crazy things against the war of terrorism. War on terrorism. That's a big thing. You guys are war on terrorism. What I just read on the mission statement was it's a war on terrorism. Obviously, like
I got an intuition.
Iranian nuclear, whatever the Iranians' nuclear threat. That's a part of your mission. I read it out. That's what I just read on the internet. But if it's on the internet, it has to be true, right? So, which isn't true. We know that. But you know, when you look at stuff like that, Congress allots things, funding X amount of years where it can't be undone. You know what I mean? So, for example, like it's just like the Patriot Act. The Patriot Act is coming up again in October 2021, and they can choose to let it sunset. It means it goes away, or they can re-up for 10 more years. And
yeah, I got a strong.
Barack Obama ran on. He was going to let it go away, and he didn't. So.
I don't know. I got a strong boots on the ground feeling, just my military experience. And after being there and talking to some of the Guardians and the other Navy, Air Force, and Marine personnel on the base, I just got a strong feeling that it's there to stay. And it probably feels like that at my level anyway. But I mean, they're literally spending money on marketing, you know, figuring out what the uniform is for the civilian personnel and their branding. And I don't know, just a general feeling of like, it's probably a good idea, man. I mean, I think it's cyber warfare scenario now. And, you know, not that we're going to have like Marines in space yet, although that would be cool. I'd like to be, you know, one of the first civilian veteran Marines that gets to go to space. But who knows about that part? You know, now it's more like the internet satellite scenario, and is what I gathered just again from the website.
And I think that's why you can have such a small membership, you know, 2,500 one Guardians is what it says. I'd like to get more facts about it. You know, when you said it though, I was like, yeah, this is a gimmick. No, it's a real thing. Space Force is a real thing. And I think there's like maybe like a sitcom called Space Farce. I think. I don't know.
There is. That was a good.
No, that's Spaceballs.
It was a Netflix thing. That's why everybody doesn't think it's real, because they're like, dude, you mean like the Netflix series? So
no, yeah, look, no. here, yeah, it says $738 billion defense spending bill. Holy smokes, man.
Well, and I think there's a joke on base too. Like I said, I've only been there 6 days, but they're supposedly like the federal government, had trouble with that Space Force Netflix thing because Netflix came up with the lingo of Space Force before, the government did, but who knows? That's just like
so awesome.
people talking.
Yeah, it's a comedy series on Netflix, and it looks like Steve Carell.
Is it better than Dolph's movie? Dolph's show.
I think, yeah, Steve Carell. Wow, John Malkovich. Wow, it's got some really
Yeah,
good
I think
Kudrow, Phoebe, Fred Willard. I think he accidentally killed somebody. There's all types of people, but wild stuff. Shawn, just real quick before we, jump off. I know you gotta go get your beauty rest, but
just like
you and the little
college,
buddy.
I had to get a better.
You and the little buddy, and Mark Wentz, Mark Americo Wentz, your little brother. What is the actual separation in years between you two?
Yeah, just 2 years.
Is it just 2 years?
Yeah, just 2 years. And we had 2 twin uncles, Uncle George and Uncle Rick, and I really
My neighbors, literally,
You're literally your neighbors.
literally my neighbors.
I always felt like we had a similar relationship like they did, with the whole twin thing going on and not having to talk to each other, but still like communicating on a different level. For whatever reason, me and Mark share that. And yeah, we've been just close our whole lives. And I don't know how to describe it. And
You were
and now
Mark's keeper. I feel like you were Mark's keeper.
in college, I definitely, and we look pretty similar. And in college, we have some cool stories of like me going into the student resources office and like getting one of his student loans for him. Be like, oh yeah, I'm Mark Wentz. I'm here to get my student loan going.
Did you ever when Zeb first seen you guys?
No.
Yeah, you were in a pair of booty bandits. You were in short shorts, like those green PT shorts.
Like the green marine PT shorts.
The
Yeah,
green,
nice.
and they were upper thigh, which is, I guess this is coming back in now. Whereas it's like a mid thigh right now, but
Back
yours
then,
were
it was like, what the hell is he
super
wearing?
Short.
I remember.
Was
what
that
is
like
this guy? You guys were
preseason?
running up the hill. You were running up the hill by McGilvery Hall, and I'm like,
Right.
what are these maniacs
I was
doing?
training him, dude.
And you were
Yeah.
Diesel. Like Shawn was Diesel of all
Shawn
Diesel.
was about 190 pounds.
Right. Fresh
Yeah,
out
buck
of the
80,
core.
Shawn, what were you? Buck 80?
Yeah, it's definitely a full 180. The first year of wrestling, I had to cut weight to
Thighs
get
were
down to
huge. You had big,
Yeah, to
huge,
157.
massive thighs. The wild thing was I'm watching you guys run up the hill, and I'm like, who are these guys? And I remember that year, that
These
was the year
hobbits.
you went as like the old lady with like you were like an old 50s lady, like a tubber babe, right? You were like,
For what,
weren't you?
Halloween? You talking Halloween?
Yes, and he grew his hair way out. He grew his hair out like how my son Ferdinand's hair gets. Sean's got real thick hair.
Oh yeah, that was right after the Marine Corps. I love that hair, man. It was curly.
Oh, and I thought he had a wig on, and it was actually his hair.
That was,
I
that
remember-
was part of the assimilating back from the military culture. Like, we had short hair like I do now, right when you get out. And then I like started to grow it out. I'm like, this is the best thing, man. I had some lovely locks.
You had really good hair.
Yeah. Yeah.
I thought it was fake. I was like, what is this dude's hair? That's a sweet wig. No, it's my hair. What are you doing, human? What are you doing, civilian? Why are you pulling my hair? I was like, that's a wig. No, human, what are you doing? Why are you and Shawn why are Shawn and Mark Wentz so close? Why are you and Mark little buddies? Why are you guys so close like you are?
I'm not sure. I think probably has to do with our upbringing. We had a super tight family. My mom and stepdad were real big on just family, and we were, always together. And my stepdad's family was really awesome in our high school years, as far as like being together every weekend. And my mom's family and extended. We had big families on all three sides: the Italian side and my stepdad's family, and then my real father's family. I think we were just brought up to be close, and I don't know if Mark will say it, but I swear that the early trauma we went through of losing our father and being there at his death, probably set something in motion that we can't explain. And I remember even like my mom like telling me not to talk for him. And I think siblings probably do this anyway, but I remember like Mark, I didn't talk for a few years. And then just, I think it started from there. Like we just had this connection, and I'm not saying like I could read his thoughts or anything like that, but just some kind of communication on a different level than just verbally talking. And I think subconsciously he reminds me of my father. He has the same name, of course. And I think some of my trauma with that extended into, I don't know if it was, I mean, you have brothers, Zeb, and you used to get beat up by your brothers. I think I might've taken it to another level, which turned out to be.
He told us that you used to treat him like it was the Deer Hunter.
Yeah.
That movie, The Deer Hunter, when they were playing Russian roulette with the Viet Cong and the and the were they Marines or the Army guys? What were they? Were they Army?
I think those are
Marines?
Army dudes, but I hope it. And I think I've actually subconsciously like blacked out some of those bad times. But I remember one time hanging him, and then having to save his life because he was hanging.
Come on, dude. Come on, are you serious?
Yeah, and it was on like my younger brother's like castle, like that little Tinker toy castle, and like I remember he tried to fight back, so I kicked the castle away, and then he started hanging. I'm like, oh man,
By his neck.
save him. By his neck, yeah.
So you almost simultaneously killed him and saved him within
And
the
when
same action.
When I look back on it, and I think it was some trauma going through about our father's death, and I think
Shawn, what happened with he told the story. What is your recollection from the day that what happened with your dad?
Yeah, and that's interesting being a human behavioral scientist as well, and I know how memory gets gets scathed, or a different story gets attached to it. And then also Mark told me later in life that our family did a good job of starting to tell us to change our memories, and like, no, it didn't happen like that, kids. They were doing their jobs as far as like, trying to remove the trauma from us.
How old were you guys? First off, how old were you and Mark?
I was 6, Mark was 4, and we were coming back from a family party, and my dad died a Good Samaritan. He stopped on the highway. It was just turning dusk and it was raining, and he stopped on the highway to help a family that was stuck on a berm, in Ohio, the divided highways. So the medium berm, there was a car broke down there. And I remember my mom, asking him not to go to stop and help him because she was afraid, because it was nighttime and on a, Ohio highway. And I remember him saying, well, you just got to help these people. And he shut the door. And I remember him shutting the door. And then my memory shuts off a little bit. And, I have some memories that, don't need to be repeated. But he got hit by an oncoming car, a drunk driver, and times were different back then. It was like his, third offense or something like that. So he got hit, killed him, and I think killed another guy and then hurt another guy. And then of course, just the, you remember lights and sirens, and then going to the hospital afterwards kind of scenario. So that did happen. I mean, it's good to talk about it as early trauma. And I don't think we've ever really got to, fully, express that before. So, it's good to acknowledge it. And I hope it's a good example for other people to maybe, acknowledge their trauma and, work forward from that. But it was a pivotal point in our life. And I guess throughout my life, I always, for whatever reason, just internally, I was focusing on the negative, but outwardly, I want to acknowledge my stepfather and their family and how they, we really had a great childhood after that, because my mom remarried 2 years after that. And Ronald Guy, our stepfather, took us in and treated us like his own children and coached all of our baseball teams and soccer teams and taught us how to hunt and fish. So it's almost like I felt guilty and like ever feeling bad about it, because we had a better childhood than most people, whose parents were divorced or just, went through, typical issues with a dad figure or something like that. But, really did happen. Is probably a pivotal point in our lives. Caused some trauma, of course, caused me and Mark to grow closer, but it also caused me to, probably abuse a younger brother more than, what was normal. because I was maybe working through some trauma at that time. And I think it still affects him to this day. So now, I've worked through all my shit, and I try to say, like, I got this, I think, after the heart surgery, but like when I talk to you guys or people I'm close with, like I love to say I love you at the end, and it like warms my heart. And like, because I realize now, how precious life is, from that event to my heart surgery, to losing my favorite testicle.
Do you still have it? Is it in the
What's that?
jar? Is it still in the jar? Do you still have it?
No, that was a joke. And Mark always would get pissed about that, right? Anytime someone would joke
Why
about
am
it,
I
Mark would, like,
laughing
wanna
at
kill
that?
people.
Why am I laughing at that?
Didn't you have it in the
Well,
jar
because
in the
you-
basement?
So, dude, you've run the gamut of like really
Gamut,
traumatic
dude.
things happening to you. Think about
Yeah.
that. You had, as a 6-year-old, you and your brother and your mom watched your dad get
Get killed, right?
murdered by a drunk driver. And then, you go to the Marines, you're a wrestler. And then in the middle of your college wrestling experience, you get testicular cancer, right?
Yeah, and that was and I never did. I like to always accompany that with I never ran the full gamut of cancer, but I feel great as a personal trainer and pseudo life coach. Whenever I meet another cancer person, I'm like, hell yeah, I had cancer too. And I get to like be on the bandwagon about men's, it's bullshit that we can't talk about men's testicular cancer, and I only got one ball, and I know you only got one boob, and now they're fake, but like, what about my testicle? But to frame that, actually, if you remember, and you remember this, Zeb, the year before, it was interesting that this happened, but Joey DiMichele got the testicular cancer.
Right.
Wasn't there a third? I thought there was you two and somebody else. I thought there was a
Sure.
third. Go
Sean,
ahead.
He had it.
you were roofing out in Utah. You were doing like industrial roofs on big, gigantic factories.
Yeah.
And it was like 410s. I remember you telling me, yeah, it was 410s. Is this accurate what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah. That's
410s.
accurate, yeah.
And then he on the third, the Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Shawn went up into the mountains and would have like liberal hippie jam fests and whatever else and hang out with all the locals and whatever, and summer of love, whatever he was doing. And he would meet up with random people and hang out in the mountains. And if you've ever been out there, the mountains have a thing about them, obviously. But that's how it was. And this is the thing that sticks with me. He's like, it got to the point, my pain and discomfort, I couldn't take enough leave to make it go away.
Yeah.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, that was interesting. And of course there was a lump associated with it, and I like knew that wasn't right. And then, and you actually learn like medicine is still a practice. You go to the first doctor, they're like, take this antibiotic, and that didn't work. And they're like, try this. And eventually I got to the point where I realized, hey, I better head home to Ohio and get this taken care of. And then I get home to Ohio and I see the doc, and like right away, they want to have surgery on me and, do a biopsy. But again, to frame it, one of our teammates the year before had testicular cancer, and his had actually spread. If you remember his scar, they cut him from belly to chest, dug the cancer out, then radiated his ass. And I feel like, he went through the full gamut of it, but that framed it for me. I was so scared going into that. And I think more so because I just saw our teammate the year before have full chemo treatment and surgery from it. And, what I ended up with just a cut in the lower stomach and, maybe a little ego problem. And like, and I'm like all worried about like, I got to get back into shape for wrestling. And like, I remember not even be able to do a sit up because your stomach hurts so bad. And
Just put you back together. I mean, you psychopath. So how about Joey DiMichele? Do they make him better than Joey DiMichele? And there was Anthony Ralph in that house, and Orski, and then they had Ryan Ferrum. Isn't that who one of your brothers got in a fight with?
Drew did.
oh yeah, that's right.
You
Yeah.
got in a fight with Ryan.
But we were
Ferrum?
at the MAC tournament, I think. We were
Is
even
that what it
there.
was?
We were gone at the
ridiculous.
MAC tournament. Yeah. That's
Oh,
another
at
story.
your house. It
was at my
Duke of Earl,
house,
the Duke,
But
Duke
he
of
didn't
Ears.
even live there.
Oh my God.
Mark
So-
had to regulate some dude. again?
No, Drew, I think.
Drew did. Hey,
Oh, Drew.
so it's wild to look back on this stuff, man. But so then at that point, you came back and wrestled a year, didn't you? You wrestled 2 more years.
Yeah, that was, I want to say my third year, maybe only second year in college. It was either second or third year, but yeah, I got to wrestle that season. I felt it definitely put like a one of the reasons why I didn't produce maybe as much in college. And then that year also, like, I think the first match. So yeah, probably looking back on it, probably had something to do, wrestling those open tournaments in the beginning. I was a little rusty, for a college athlete. And I think I picked someone up like little buddy used to do, trying to wrestle like my brother. And the guy squirmed around and I dropped on my knee. And then I had a bursitis, big boob growing on my knee for the whole season.
I remember that. They had to remove it.
Man. Yeah.
And you just had like a watery knee, I remember, all season.
You
But
were
Shawn-
old though, right? You're
You
old.
were old, man. You were really old. I couldn't have done what you did as old as you were. Because you were,
Yeah, I mean,
at
that
that
was-
point, you were 22 and I was 19 at 22, 18.
Right.
So at that point, you got to, I remember we went out when you turned 23 in that Blink 182 song. Something
You'd
about
sing
being
it to
20.
me.
Yeah, something about being 23, and you kept singing it, and I was like, "Oh my god, this guy's torturing me." I remember going to Chuck E. Cheese with you guys, and Hagman and I getting in
that
a
was
fight.
my best birthday. Yeah.
Dude,
Both of you
Hagman
were
and I
there,
got in a
right?
fight up in the tube on the ceiling, and it was shaking, and the plaster and the screws were coming undone. We were like beating each other up in
In
the
the ball,
tube,
Chuck
just
E.
like-
Cheese balls, yeah. And they only
Yeah,
had 2
we
beer
were
limit
beating
too.
each other
I'm like,
up.
"What, 2 beer limit?"
We just got back from the Virginia duels too. We just came home from the
Oh,
Virginia
geez.
duels.
That was a
Oh,
trip.
You have an early
Yeah.
January birthday, Shawn? Is that what it is?
Virginia duels, and that's always where Mark would mount the bulldog at the.
No, that was Citadel.
That was Gardner Webb.
Citadel?
No,
Yeah,
that was Citadel. Citadel.
Gardner Webb right there.
No, Citadel.
Oh, nice,
Citadel.
nice.
Citadel. Oh, that's a sweet
Shout out.
shirt.
Yeah, shout out.
Yeah.
Coach
Shout
Elliott.
out,
Yeah.
man.
Nice.
Daniel Elliott in the
Yeah.
house. I like that guy. He's a good
Good
guy. He's
dude.
recruiting a bunch of good Ohio guys. Shawn, when you have all this trauma, and then what led to the open heart surgery, and how'd you figure that out?
Yeah, that actually was I like to talk about this. The VA hospital actually saved my life. And that's another mission I get to take in life. Post-Vietnam era VA wasn't that good. When I got out, luckily I had some sergeant tell me the ropes. He's like, "Look, dude, when you get home, you need to go and sign up for the VA right away and get a disability rating if you rate it." And I
VA
got
is Veteran Affairs for people who don't know.
Veteran Affairs, right. I actually got a disability rating just for my hearing because I have tinnitus, like most mortarmen, from not wearing hearing protection and all the loud noises. So I'm supposed to be wearing 2 hearing aids. But anyway, that actually, fast forward, got me into the VA system. I just have a 10% disability rating. And so I forgot about it. And all through college and the testicular cancer scenario, I didn't even use it. What are you saying?
You have a disability. You couldn't hear me, could you? I was
that's-
screaming at you. You couldn't hear me.
Thanks. It's actually becoming more of a challenge now. This damn COVID and the mask, I can't. That's yeah. So it
So
saved
you
my
got in the
life. though.
system. You got in the system, right? So
Got in the system.
You got
And,
into the Veterans Affairs system.
and I didn't start going to get my physicals until like my 30s. But then around, I guess, 34, a doctor heard something. He's like, "Oh, it's probably nothing." And he sent me for some testing.
so it's
The
just a
cardio-
routine checkup. He heard this.
Yeah. So I had a physical.
This wasn't like the testicle. Like the testicle was like a glaring. You had a lump.
Yeah,
You had
glaring,
pain, discomfort.
So yeah, doctor luckily had heard something, but I had high blood pressure for those past 2 years, and every doctor didn't even like think twice about it because they listened to my heart, and I swear someone would hear something, but then they step back and look at me and be like, "This dude's diesel, he's in good shape." This dude actually heard something, and come to find out, he actually said that like certain doctors develop an ear for hearing this certain heart anomaly. So luckily he sent me to get tested, and I got tested, and the people in the cardiology lab, like all of a sudden come in, they rush in after the testing, like, "Are you feeling all right, sir?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And I'm starting to get a little worried. I'm like, "We need to call a cardiologist before you leave." And that's when it like, kind of sunk in like, "Oh shit, this is something real." So they called a cardiologist, and the cardiologist let me leave the hospital. But within 2 weeks, I was on the surgery table. God bless the VA. You always hear stories of like, "I needed this surgery and I couldn't get in there," but that wasn't my case. I had the Widowmaker. My aorta was dilated to 5.4 centimeters and was about to dissect and rip open.
Wow.
They saved my life. They took the aortic valve out, put a mechanical titanium valve in, and then replaced the aorta with some nice surgical tubing. Sewed my chest back up and sent me back out in the world, a new man.
$6 million man. No, 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 no.
Cyborgs have rights too, man.
Lucky you're a small dude, right?
Yeah.
So
Big
do you
human,
think,
small heart.
do you think this stuff, like, okay, you say 6 years old, your dad's killed in front of you by a drunk driver, you know, the testicular cancer, obviously being a Marine is a traumatic thing. It's tough, right? And then
and I had a good tour. So
you had a good tour. And then, you know, you came, you're a D1 athlete, took a lot of beatings in the Kent State wrestling room, handed some out. And then the testicular cancer's in the middle of that. After just one hurdle, like another to another to another, do you think that this stuff, are you just like numb to this stuff? Do you think it's made you and your brother's relationship stronger? You guys don't live, you live a couple thousand miles apart now. What's it done to you and your brother, and what's it done to you as a person, do you think?
Yeah, I guess I'd like to start and say that my God uses all things to work his will and for his advantage. So looking back, and you know, I have the perspective of looking back now, I can look back on those challenges and use them for good. And I'm here to help other humans now, and to serve other humans, and to help them on their journey, and having an easier life, or learning how to accept trauma. And it's been an up and down. It definitely wasn't a linear path. Like all of a sudden I'm at this point, you know, I'm still on the path, of course. But it wasn't until recently last year when I even came to a point where I was able to come to a point where I was able to deal with like the, you know, what I thought was depressive thoughts, or suicidal thoughts. Got to a dark place where it just started like, you know, just getting unbearable. And I went to Bible boot camp with this Army veteran, and he was just patient with me. And it was actually for alcoholism and PTSD, but the program worked for me too. And, you know, having long set trauma from it, I really feel like I turned a huge corner this past December, and being able to deal with it. And one of the main recipes is actually, you know, whenever you have a negative thought in your head like that, is just to, I prayed for knowledge and discernment, actually, knowing that, like, not leaning on my own understanding. After the heart surgery, you definitely understand that, like, your thoughts aren't necessarily your own. They're affected by your emotions. They're affected by other people, and they're actually affected by the physical. Just having that realization that, like, maybe not all my thoughts are my own, and just trying to gain power over that. And like, hey, we can have these thoughts, but we can also choose to drill, like in wrestling or any sport. You have to drill to get the movement to be repetitive. And my VA therapist told me after my heart surgery, when I was going to some therapy and just not able to deal with feeling like I was going to die all the time, and having shortness of breath from the heart scenario, and really going through challenges because I was still young, but I still wanted to be active. And to them, it was all normal. They're like, dude, you're healthy, you're good, get back out there and have life. He told me something pivotal, and, you know, I understand it wasn't his, but he asked me, he's like, well, Shawn, what head are you feeding? You know, you need to, and I've been told this before in life, I think at Kent State by one of the counselors, like, you feed the head that you want to grow. And sometimes we're undisciplined, or we're in a bad spot where we keep feeding the negative, like, you know, not just woe is me, but just, you know, negative thoughts that keep us down. And I understand depression is a real thing, and it's mechanical in the brain in some cases, but I want to say a lot of the human behavior of depression or suicide or just bad human behavior is perpetuated by us doing it over and over again and going down that rabbit hole. And, you know, you make one bad choice, and that's easier to make another bad choice. And not that all choices are bad. Some good choices lead to bad behavior. So I actually had to drill it out of myself every time I'd have a negative thought. And I still do this and use it as a tool. And my little tool was like, I pray for knowledge and discernment, knowing that knowledge is key. And I don't know exactly what knowledge it is that I need, but it was just my little, like, tie the rubber band around your wrist kind of scenario, and remind yourself to do the right thing every time a negative thought comes up. some people I think are naturally good at this. And on the outside, I was always positive in coaching people, positive in personal training, and really good at doing it for other people, but I was masking it for myself. So it was cool to come to that point where I actually had some tools to overcome this. And I'm trying to keep mending my relationship with my brother, Americo, and he's expressed his trauma in his art, and it's been an amazing outlet for him to see his journey as an artist and to see, he's such an amazing craftsman, and that he's a craftsman and an artist is really cool. And so, back to the thing, like I tell him I love you, but I swear like he still has trauma or he's not able to say like, I love you back. So I'll be calling him out right now on that. But, when I say it to you guys, I'm like,
you've always said it. I mean, you've always said it. Always said, love you, man. But you've always said it for the last 20 years. I mean, that's, it's your appreciation, I think, for people, right? You let them know.
Yeah. Especially the people that I'm close to. And it's like, I could be so salty about humans in one aspect, but then definitely recognize like how important it is to love the people that are close to you. And it's not just your immediate family. And that's where I learned it from grandparents and my mother and my stepfather and all my cousins and stuff, telling me like, oh, I love you. But it's so powerful to say it to our extended network and the people that we're close with. And sometimes even at work, like if I'm like in a happy mood or something, it'll slip. That a boss tell me like, man, are you drinking or are you smoking the dude or whatever? Like,
I'm gonna tell you this. I feel extra good about ripping the cardiovascular Band-Aid off. I feel extra good about the East Inlet hike into Rocky Mountain National Park. I feel like that I enabled you to cardiovascularly have confidence in yourself again.
Oh, that's true. That's very true.
I really do. And I felt, and I knew that you needed that a little bit, but man,
I was gun shy.
What a gamble I took though. Like, what would we have done if you
literally took a heart victim up to 12,000 feet? That had only been that was literally the second time that I'd been up past 10,000 trying out the new heart tackle.
You were so worried. I was like, dude, you're going to be fine. Just shut up. And we had plenty of snacks and water. And I think I ended up having to give you water. You'd run out. I don't know. You were, what kind of rookie mistake were you on? I was like, what? Because I remember I brought a gallon of water. Do you remember?
Yeah, you brought plenty. Well, I didn't think the hike was going to be that long, dude.
Because I lied to you. Because I lied bad. I lied horribly to you. Do you remember we went in and got a massive cheeseburger? We got these massive cheeseburgers.
Oh, that's the best after a hike.
Oh, yeah. And then Go Hiocast paid for it all. So that was cool. That was cool. Shawn, man, I love hearing your philosophies and your stories about, why things are the way they are with you, your brother, your life, and setbacks you've had and how you've handled them. It's like refreshing and awesome to hear it. I mean, it's good stuff. Jared, do you have anything more for this man? I know he gets grumpy if he doesn't.
He does. No, thanks for sharing, man. When we talk, it's just like old times and we haven't missed a beat, but thanks for sharing your story with those out there. Cause you're right. It's whatever beast you feed, and, the gratitude every day, it goes a long way. So, like I said earlier, I'm grateful that we crossed paths and that we're still in contact with each other. So it's awesome, man. I need to get back out there and visit again.
I'm trying to get out this summer.
Nice. Yeah, come out. I do have a bass boat. So not so much in the mountains like Zeb wants to take me anymore, but yeah, get on a Colorado reservoir and enjoy some nice scenery. When you're on these little reservoirs, you can see the mountains. And I'm in the Denver area now, working for the Space Force, of course. So
yes,
we'd have to take
this
a drive.
This is what you inspired me to get last time I was there.
Oh, jeez.
You inspired me to get one, and I was like, how do you get that?
Dude, everybody should have a weapon, especially a pocket knife. You might need to open a can. You never know when the aliens or Chinese are going to land.
Good
Where
stuff.
Did you come up with that? You just, you are literally.
Well, yeah, I appreciate both of you more than you can imagine. For our history and for being brothers, and I always felt so close to the both of you, and getting to live with you, Jared. That was awesome to become part of your family and have your brother live with us too. And Zeb was always, I don't know, you just saw it. You instantly
around. Just
He's
around,
like, who's there? Always there.
always there,
Always
just
there, man.
around.
Instantly in my life and like
Thought
tight
it's
with-
now with Jared, dude. He can't get rid of me. He's like, why are you around?
yeah, they'll keep a couple states in between us, but yeah.
Dude, you guys
What?
know who I really sketch out. You guys already know who like can't take me.
Who?
America,
Yeah.
I'm just like I'm like sensory.
Oh, he
overload.
gave you.
He's like,
He's pro Zeb now, man.
no, he was like we did
You would tweak him out, yeah, because you're so
yeah,
like
I would get him tweaked out, and then the oldest daughter was a baby. I want to say that was like
Really?
New Year's 2011, maybe. Does that
Yeah,
sound
were
right?
we over your house?
We were over at my house on Horning, and he's like, "You're just so loud. You're just so loud."
I remember that day too. Yeah, and he called you. I was
Wife
finally
is
like,
such an
"Man, why
angel,
are you so
man.
loud?"
Why is it loud. I'm
I think he's
I'm in
starting
my
to
house.
appreciate you more now. But yeah, I mean, we're more. I mean, you're like our opposite. You're like, yeah, loud, right?
Fire taste.
Right.
Hey, I gotta
wanna be-
send you a thing of these.
I need some defense action.
Look,
Yeah.
he's got this now.
What's that?
Where-
I've never seen that. What's that?
Yeah, dude, he's got the deal. This is 12 individually wrapped. 12 individually wrapped. Okay, Shawn. So this is like 12 of these. So what happened
Oh, yeah, the
was
single
he
thing,
couldn't get, they learned a lot about supply chain, right? That was a big thing they learned from the pandemic defense. So they couldn't get the canisters like SC Johnson.
Yeah, 'cause
Maybe it
they're
wasn't
separate.
SC Johnson, but like Johnson and Johnson and
Right. So they had to go with
Procter
special
and
action.
Gamble. Yeah, they bought all those.
But-
They bought all the cylinders and they couldn't get them. So they got this new thing. This is what we gave to all the OWs, the outstanding wrestlers at the
Oh, that's awesome, man.
well, hold on. This is a cool thing, man. This was the best sellers. They got 3 oatmeal. They got oatmeal. They got peppermint, and they got original, and then they got 2 of.
Dude, I'm so pro defense soap. I mean, after
Incredible.
I still have skin problems, and that defense
Yeah.
soap has been
Dude, it's
genius, dude. I love that it's from Ohio. 1,
Yeah.
2, and to put tea tree lotion. We all knew that back in the day before they even made defense soap. The
Got
tea
3
tree
of
is like a
those.
moneymaker.
Dude, these guys just do a phenomenal
We
job.
got to
They're
get
one
you
of-
some Barbarian apparel gear though.
Yeah,
we got to get you some
gotta
gear.
do that. So, Jared,
Jeez.
what's our code? What's our code if we want people to buy? Because this shirt, Shawn, you're gonna be able to get off the store. I'll try and bring you one out. But
he's
it's
got all kinds of stuff.
www.barbarianapparel.com /
custom gators, all that stuff. But yeah, you check out the site barbarianapparel.com and we'll get you taken care of.
Yeah, we'll take
So-
you care to get you taken care of, Shawn. Make sure we get you what you need to have and
Show it off
bring
out
some
there.
soap out. We'll do some stuff. Maybe we can go
I
hit
got some.
some.
Actually, you'd probably like those shorts. Have you seen those?
Oh yeah,
shorts.
Those are Shawn Wentz all the way, man.
Yeah, they're nice.
Yeah, are they? Will they show up my muscular thighs? or-
They
Sure,
will, they
all
will.
that. Yes, you
Got to roll the
people will be able to see.
roll
You
them.
can even roll them up if you need to. I know you like to do that. You like to let everybody see the diesel thighs. But man, guys, it's been awesome talking to you
Yeah.
guys tonight. I love when I can get on with you guys and just chop it up a little bit, hear what you guys have to say. Let's see here. Let's see if we can get a quick video of these guys. Awesome seeing you guys tonight.
Yeah, thanks, fellas.
PA hour. Thanks, guys. I
You're
appreciate
welcome.
everything.
Yeah, keep up
All
the
right.
good work, man. This is needed.
For sure.
People's stories need to be held. We need real news, man. You guys are good at it. You got a gift of articulation.
Thanks, Shawn.
Awesome,
You're
Shawn.
welcome.
Thank you.